Hello, Key Smasher here. This is a very rare recording for me because I never use my voice. Um, but I decided I wanted to go out and mine an Aeron Halo with my mole and just show people an alternative to the contracts for this resource missions. You could mine quite a lot of materials, and it doesn't have to be tungsten and corundum because you could still make plenty of money mining all the regular stuff like gold and agricium and laranite. So I'm gonna get in my mole here. Um, I just walked around to give a few of you a quick view of what it looks like on the outside. It's quite dirty right now. I don't know if it'll stay like that or if it's waiting for me to claim it and get a new one. But I've been using it for a while. I do occasionally log out in the beds in the Halo. So there are 4 beds available and crew size of 4 in the mole. It doesn't leave room for any visitors if you're fully manned, which is strange because there's a co-pilot seat too. 4 beds, but
Systems
2 seats in the pilot
Systems
house and
on.
3 turrets. I guess somebody has to stay awake. Anyway, I operate out of mic L5 because it has uh, the most bonuses on refinery output. And it's quite a ways away, so I spend a lot more in gas, but I think I make more than make up for it with the bonuses. And being remote means I get harassed a bit less. Those of you who have never played Star Citizen before or who have yet to
Landing gear up.
sign up because of all the bad news you've heard about it, yeah, it's still in development, but um, you gotta just take it with a grain of salt and play what you can out of it, report bugs that are there so they can fix them. The Aeron Halo is not actually a point you can quantum travel to directly with a marker. You
Shields
have
off.
to kind of know where it's at and drop out of quantum travel on the way there.
Quantum travel
You
engaged.
basically abort early. And along this path, I usually drop out at about 5.8 GM or billion meters. I think that's what that is. From her L2. It's Hurston's L2 orbit slot. You could get up and walk around the ship if you wanted to while you're in quantum travel, but I would avoid using ladders. They've been known to be a little buggy and drop people off in the middle of space while the ship is still flying away. Star Citizen is an MMO, so there are up to about 600 players in each shard. A shard is divided among 10 servers, 5 in Stanton and 5 in Pyro for the time being. They are working on um, adjusting the meshing so that they would be more dynamic. But when you're mining out in the Halo, because
Quantum
you have to
travel
choose
complete.
where you're going to drop out at, it could be anywhere of hundreds of thousands of or hundreds of kilometers apart, thousands of kilometers apart even, and still be into Halo. So it's hard for anybody to just run up and ambush you. I like to work my way back towards Mike L5 because it keeps the sun at my back and makes the asteroids bright and easy to see. There is no gas clouds out in the halo, so there's nothing to attenuate the light. They're nice and bright. Just about every asteroid type here has something that's useful for the event, so I don't need to scan and look for specific radar signatures. I'll collect anything with corundum, tungsten, or copper, but I'm also collecting all the high value minerals like gold. Um,
Shields
I've
on.
even found quantanium once or twice this last week, which is, of course, extraordinarily rare and valuable at the same time. I have recently upgraded my mole with the Helix 2 laser on the left or port
Mining
side
mode
turret.
on.
I added two Riger C3 modules because they boost the power by 125% each. And then I also have a surge module. So when I find those
Shields
really large
off.
asteroids with a mass of about 30,000 or so, that is the laser I'm going to use to crack it. My lasers are kind of arranged like Goldilocks bears.
Shields
Papa Bear
on.
on the port side, Mama Bear in the forward center, and Baby Bear on the starboard side. That is the Arbor on the starboard and the Hofstede in the center. My Arbor has two of the filters on it, so when I'm going to pick up any inert, I'm going to use that as much as possible to reduce how much inert I get. And in the Hofstede, I really never use the modules that I attach to it, but I have a surge on there and I can't remember the other one right now. You'll see it when I get in the turret.
Mining mode on.
The mole is a little tricky when you're flying solo because you can't put the pilot's view aiming right at the asteroid if you want the turrets to see the asteroid too. The turret's gotta aim down a bit from the pilot house.
Systems activating. Systems on.
Stampede, that's the other one I put up here. And like I said, I seldom ever have to use them on the center turret because, well, if I need more energy, I'm going to move over to the port side where the Helix is at. It could crank out a lot more energy.
Attack on shields.
If you've never
Extraction
mined
mode
before,
on.
what I was doing here was using my mouse wheel to adjust the power output. But you gotta try and get it in the optimal or green area and stay there without floating up in the red. Because if it grows too much energy in the red, then the rock could lose minerals and bust apart much greater and damage your ship. So with a little practice on it's the same with hand mining too. Ship mining is not that far different. You just get a better HUD, it's easier to see with the ship. So this one having
Mining
so
mode
much
on.
inert in there, I'm not going to pick it up with this laser because there are no filters on this laser. Maybe I ought to put two filters on here since I'm not using the surge anymore on the center. I only need the surge on the port side when I get like a 30,000 kilogram rock. Usually, if I'm working like 20,000 or below, 14 to 20,000 is when I'm on the port side, the helix.
Systems
I don't
activated.
need to surge.
Systems on.
It's just to help me with the much higher power. So here you see I have two of the XL filters. That's 24% reduction each.
Mining mode
Now
on.
it's not 48% total. It means 24% of the inert is taken out, and then what gets past that is reduced 24% of that volume. So, and I even checked the math, and it's not quite exact because every time you fracture something or dissolve something, there's a little bit that is lost in the process, no matter how well you keep it in the optimum range.
Mining mode on.
The mole can store 96 SCU, and you could take mole bags and put them on a prospector, but it can only hold 4 bags. The mole has 8 bags. So even if you're a solo miner, the mole is quite useful for just being able to add up more and more ore in one trip without constantly flying back and forth. And the whole reason people come to the Halo is because it's a lot safer than mining around the stations. I think I spend about 2.5k in fuel on each trip, and close to the same for the refinery costs. But refining the minerals just about doubles their value from what you'd get with a direct ore trade in. So if you can't afford to refine anymore, you can still sell the ore directly at another terminal for a reduced amount. Now this one being 21,000 in mass, I'm going to go ahead and use the helix. That's why I put it to my left side a little bit, catering to the position of the helix on the port. If you heard a little bit of scratching noises there a minute ago, that was my dog sticking her nose in the mic. I don't have a
Systems
professional audio
activated.
setup because I'm not a
Systems
regular
on.
streamer. I just grabbed my headphones with the mic attached to record this. So you see how thin that green optimal zone is? That is one of the consequences to using two of the regular C3s. It reduces the optimal charge window. I used to use other modules and I couldn't get very large rocks out of it. And I decided to give this a
Warning.
try because
Power
I was so
critical.
disappointed at all the gold that I kept losing. And I think I'll stick with this for a
Warning.
while.
Power critical.
Having a little bit of
Warning.
overcharge
Power
isn't too
critical.
bad.
Warning. Power critical. Warning. Power critical. Attack on shields.
But
Mining
I
mode
only need it
on.
for the initial crack. Once I get them into the smaller rocks, I'll definitely go to the other mining heads. One thing you want to be aware of if you decide to get a mole, and you can rent the mole now by the way, but you can't change the mining heads on it from the VLM. you have to use your tractor beam to do it manually. Um, but one thing to remember with here with the turrets on the
Mining
port
mode
and starboard
on.
side is once you get
Fracturing
in the
mode
seat,
on.
you better pray you have your helmet
Extraction
on
mode on.
because you're gonna be released from the air chamber of the ship and you'll have a vacuum. There's no window on the front of these two turrets.
Fracturing mode on.
You can actually fly in and out of these turrets through the opening, which is another reason I wouldn't want to mine near near a base, a station, because people could creep in and just take me out with a gun while I'm mining. The ship shields don't stop people from EVAing into them.
Warning. Power critical. Warning. Power critical.
So this arbor has very weak power. It does not handle masses above maybe about 4,000 very well,
Extraction
4 or
mode on.
5,000. But it does well at having a low minimum. For example, if I crank the power all the way down, I get it to I think 5%, whereas the Halstead
Fracturing mode
has
on.
maybe a 10 or 15% minimum, and the Helix over on the port side, you can't turn it down below 30% power. That's why you have to move over to the other lasers for the smaller rocks. You see here, it's telling me that's impossible for this laser. And so I will have to move
Extraction mode on.
to the Hofstad in the center of the ship for that one.
Fracturing mode on. Warning. Power critical.
I've been playing Star
Extraction
Citizen
mode
since
on.
2017. Um, Initially, I was contributing to bug reports so often, it only took about a year before I received my invite to the Evocati team. And I discovered just how much more challenging and how much more patience you have to play the first builds on Evocati. But with this past year of stability that we're trying to do, the Evocati builds haven't been coming out really that bad. I mean, they used to run for almost a month waiting
Mining mode
for it to be
on.
stable enough to bring to the PTU, and now we might be out of the Evocati in as quick as 3 or 4 days, and then go straight to the public PTU uh, testing area. So they don't really need us as much as they used to. So the stability in their terms of what is stable is, I guess, fewer server crashes, no obvious
Mining mode
exploits that a
on.
player could cause a server to crash, and once they get it past that step, then we can use the public
Mining mode
testing
on.
universe to identify all the bugs and get those working on. This ladder here, you can drop straight down, but you'll injure yourself about 1 or 2% damage. So I try to catch it on the way down. and then drop the rest of the way. It's just
Extraction
faster than
mode
climbing
on.
down or
Mining
trying to
mode
slide
on.
down, because you still have to mount the
Fracturing
ladder and
mode
wait for that
on.
animation to play. I am curious how it will play out with the new ladder updates coming in 2.3.
Warning. Power critical. Warning. Power critical.
Now, when you mine ore, if you
Warning.
haven't done any
Power
mining yet,
critical.
one of the things you'll notice when you refine is that
Attack
they
on
take a little
shields.
bit out of it. You
Extraction mode
basically
on.
suffer some losses in the refining process. Even if they have a bonus for that material type, that just means you lose less. You don't get as much out that's going to be refined as you go in with raw. So you might lose about 10 or 15% of it. You won't have to worry about your refined ore coming out, or your, not ore, minerals, I guess, metals, coming out more than 96 SCU, because, even with the rounding up, there's
Mining
enough
mode on.
shaved off to keep that from happening. So by rounding up, I mean, they tell you how much you're going to get out of it in CSEU or Centi SEU, and there's 100 Centi SEU and 1 SCU. They always round up to the nearest SCU. And I think the CIG is working to maybe change that whole
Mining
thing,
mode
the
on.
way it works in the refinery, so that perhaps they don't box them up for you. They just give you a deposit area, kind of like your storage in the buffer on the reclaimer, or other salvage ships, so that perhaps you'll be able to one day select what size box or container you want to put the material in, and if there's any left over that can't fill a 1 SCU container, then it will just remain in your buffer until you add to it. That would be the approach I think they should take, because they already have that built into the reclaimer and the vulture, so it shouldn't be that hard to add to the refinery either. And it would eliminate the exploit of rounding up, which you can do. Really, suppose you take something valuable like gold or quantanium, and you just
Mining mode
collect
off.
like a tiny
Mining mode
shaving
on.
off of the rock. Then take off your ore tanks and put on new ore tanks while some friend is taking your tanks back to the refinery. And so that you might have 0.01 SU of ore, and you can turn that into a whole SU refined.
Mining mode.
That's, an exploit, because how many times can you divide, a rock that has 30 SU of gold, divide that up by 0.01? You can make a lot of gold out of that, but it'll take you a lot of time, a lot of effort and work.
Extraction mode on.
Plus, your refinery jobs will
Mining
complete
mode
instantly
on.
because they're so short, so small.
Fracturing mode on.
I demonstrated that concept once before, just to show the CIG why they need to implement the buffer in the refineries and selective box filling size stations.
Extraction mode on. Attack on shield. Fracturing mode on.
if you are still new to mining or haven't tried it yet, note that the outline on these rocks, if it's orange, it means it's gonna need more fracturing. But if it's purple, you won't see that optimal and overcharge area when you're in fracture mode. So even if you want to break the rock up and just destroy it completely, you can't do it safely where you can see the charge level. You kind of got to do it blindly. So, for example, if a small rock has nothing but inert in it and you want it out of your way, you're going to risk taking a little bit of damage to your ship
Extraction mode on.
if you try blowing it up blindly without being able to see the charge level going up. But you can do it. You just got to pay attention to the audio when it starts rumbling, for example, because that behavior is the same no matter what size it is. And the extraction laser being purple, it reminds you that a purple outline is for extraction. They made the outline color match the laser color.
Fracturing mode on.
I was a little disappointed here that I sucked up so much titanium when I still had pure borates to pick up, because the borates are worth so much more. And so I ended up filling my cargo hull with the rest of this one right here. But at least it's pure. I'm not picking up any more inert.
Attack on shields.
And because I know it's pure, I don't have to wait for each one of these to get scanned.
Warning. Storage full. Mining mode on.
And that basically concludes this session. I gotta fly back and take it to the refinery. And flying back will take just as long as it took to fly out here. So I'll go ahead and give you a shortcut speed up on that process. Then I'll come back and talk about my choices in the refinery and how I log it.
Mining mode
Yeah,
on.
I do log my refinery orders
Mining mode
just to
off.
see for myself, one, how much money I'm really making from the mining, and then two, um, as a reminder of what I have going in case a new patch is coming out, because refineries are deleted when a new patch rolls out, and I don't want to lose any of that. So you could pull material from the refinery early if you have to, but I try to plan ahead and just not run any more mining jobs um, when I have a patch coming out.
Quantum travel complete.
So I am back now. We just got to Mach L5, and I'm going to use this comm hub up here in the corner to tell me when I am close enough to call the station ATC. You'll see the station pop up on there saying you can hail them, and that's when I hit Alt N to call the ATC, and then immediately drop into flight mode, bring my shields up, and it slows me down before crashing into the station. If you haven't played yet, one of the things you're going to discover is that if you lower your landing gear, your speed limit drops tremendously. So as I enter the hangar, then I'll drop my landing gear, and you see it drop from
Landing
37
gear
to
down.
7,
Engines
and
off.
I can raise it up to as high as 30, but I usually don't have to go more than 20 when I'm in the hangar. So this little window you saw there was reload, rearm, and repair, often called RRR, if you see it in chat. And the reason you do this after every run is because of the quantum fuel you burn getting to and from the halo, and any damage your ship takes while mining. Even if you fracture perfectly, you might be close enough to take a little bit of damage. You can store your ship from inside the hangar, but then you have to wait for the elevator animation to take it down and bring it back
Welcome
up.
to the
If you
ASOS
store it
vehicle
from
retrieval
here,
system. Your vehicle
you
has
don't
been
have to
moved to
wait
our
for
stock.
that
Please visit us
on
again.
either end of the transaction. So not every station has a refinery. When you first leave a planet like Hurston, above Lorville, you'll find an LEO, that's low, well, some people call it low Earth orbit, but it's really low elliptical orbit. An LEO station, such as Everest Harbor, they have cargo centers. They don't have refineries. And if you go to the gateway stations or for the jump points, they have both. And in Pyro, most of the stations have both as well. So Dink Sullivan has the best profit. It takes longer, but its low cost, high yield make up for it. And while it's refining, you can still go back out and keep mining. This is my play log. I track what I do during a game, especially anything that incurs a transaction of funds, and I keep track of my active mining operations. The number I'm writing here is the number of SU I'm going to get back as the yield. Remember, it rounds up to a whole SU from 100. You see on the screen there 100 CSU for the yield would represent 1 SU.
Feels like I haven't seen you in ages. What have you been doing?
How's it going?
And this tool here is just
What did you
a
say?
nice little way
Yeah,
of
yeah, I'm
doing
free,
the
boss.
math to tell me when the job should be done. The only thing I don't like about it is that AM and PM both use a 12-hour clock, but they put a 0 in front of them. Intuitively, to me, a 0, 0, 1 should always be AM. And when the last major patch rolled out, I lost my C2 because I had claimed it and didn't retrieve it before the patch rolled out. So it just got deleted. And that is the financial goal that I am working to again to replace my C2. It's like 18 million. For the meantime, I have a Freelancer Max that could be used to haul cargo the to the various stations and cities where I can sell it. And since I'm mining, I don't need to carry this tractor beam around on my back. that fuse I got from salvaging a ship the other day while I was trying a hauling mission and the freight elevators broke, so I just started taking apart ships that were in the area. And, well,
Welcome to the
then
ASOS
rinse and
Vehicle
repeat.
Vehicle
Basically, the
Selectors.
process with the
Stand
mole
by. Your vehicle has
is
been
the
replaced
same
in just a
over
moment.
and over again. About the only thing that's different is what asteroids you'll find. And because I'm mining solo, I don't like to mine on the surface of planets because the wind tries to play with your ship, blow it around a little bit, and you spend more fuel getting away from the planet anyway. And more or less, the Halo is still safe and secure, and the nice place where I can chill and relax while I'm mining.